You've tuned into Stranger Than Fiction News, broadcasting live from the dark side of the planet. We've got some bombshell information to discuss here with you before it fades away from the internet. And in the video description, we've laid out the smoking gun. It's a scientific paper from basically the U.S. government saying that they were playing with this corona bat virus and trying to make it, infect human tissue. And so they added an AIDS-based system into the virus. You just couldn't make this stuff up. Read it for yourselves. I hope you're a skeptic out there. I hope you're thinking, oh, this guy, hogwash like St. Joe says. Okay, well, guess what, St. Joe? Get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? But in this, and there's actually a series of papers by this same lab, this same group, studying this virus after SARS. And it's rather interesting. I mean, we could read it verbatim if everybody wants to pull it up. Right, and we could do this kind of like a college lecture, but they're trying to study, all of the coronaviruses that might be close to SARS, and they're playing with it, and they're like, this doesn't infect humans though, and so let's see why it doesn't infect humans, and then they're like, oh, it's because of this. So they're trying to more or less reverse engineer a cure, perhaps. But what they've done is unleashed a nightmare into the world. And what we're thinking here at this stage is that somebody, outside of this group saw their research and they're like, oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. We'll use this, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to, regurgitate what we've covered in previous broadcasts. This is really just going to be kind of like a low-key broadcast right now. And so we're willing to field some questions and discuss new ideas. But we've detailed the situation. I'm not going to come on here and once again say breaking news. This is much worse than you can possibly imagine. That's in the previous broadcast. Check it out for yourself. Do we have more trolls coming here? Like, oh, it's going to be okay. This is a weaponized virus, ladies and gentlemen. That means it's meant to infect, and it's meant to work around standard containment. Right now, they're getting reports it's coming up through the pipes in Hong Kong. They're evacuating buildings. You can't imagine, and it's like the perfect kind of like plan. It's like once enough people in the city get infected with it, they're all like crapping it out, and it's just coming in like, it's turning the sewers into like Alka-Seltzer, right? And it's all just kind of like bubbling up. And you heard the stories probably like a week ago. Like, oh, you can get it through the feces. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I'm not going to be touching no feces. I'm cool there, right? But what people didn't realize is that as this is floating in the sewers, especially in the cities, it's coming up through the manholes, up through the pipes. And it turns like the sewer system into like, a chemical weapon, if you will. And you thought it stunk bad. It's going to stink worse. And we've got pictures of them like dumping tons of disinfectant down the sewers, and people are complaining like, you're going to be ruining our sewer system. This is no way to be, treating the people's infrastructure kind of thing, And you can just see like the thousands of disinfectant they're pouring into the sewers. But we're not catching wind of that in any of the media. We're not catching anything, really about what this virus is. And it's because they don't want people to be able to protect themselves. They don't want people to prepare. They're just letting everybody in. It's a nightmare. It's a fucking nightmare. And And, these people that are in charge right now, they're fully 100% responsible for the outbreak that's going to hit. Absolutely undeniable. You can be a skeptic right now. I want you to remember that we said that, because in 2 weeks from now, they're going to come on and be like, we had no idea it was this bad. They're going to act all surprised. But you got to remember these ghost ships that they let in, like these people that they released into the wild, the lack of, transparency as far as what's going on. They're not letting people know that their tests are only 50% effective picking this virus up. You think like automatically, oh yeah, their tests are going to do it, right? They're going to have a pregnancy test for this thing, and people are just going to be able to pee on it, and they're going to let us know. It's going to let us know in like, half hour or 2 days that this works, that they have it or not. But in fact, it's not the case. It is not the case. They can only detect it half the time. That's another reason, to think that this is a weaponized virus. It's because it's made to evade like detection, even in a lab. And it brews up through the sewer system. It lingers in the air. Now, we were reading reports 9 days, but in theory, coronavirus can survive 28 days. It's like pollen. You probably thought to yourself when you saw the pictures of it. You're like, hey, that looks like pollen or something. It's exactly right. It's like aerosolized anthrax. And once somebody gets infected, they become like a perpetual like generator for this virus, for this weaponized anthrax. I mean, every breath they take, it just goes out, it sheds. And it can travel, in the wind, in the draft, and infect people next door, people probably 2 blocks away, and it'll linger for a while, so it'll start to accumulate. That's why they're spraying, with their trucks. When you saw the videos, you're like, wow, man, But there's a reason they're doing everything they're doing. They know a lot more about this virus than they're telling us. And, they're hiding it from the public as much as they can, so people they can't defend themselves. This looks like a kamikaze attack. Like, they're going to boot it up, into an epidemic in their country. And then they're going to do like all of this draconian shit to eventually put the fire out. And then they're going to watch the world burn, and then communism takes over. That's basically, what it looks like right now. And they're telling you like, oh, it'll burn out in April. It's, in Singapore right now, it's like 80 degrees and their cases are just like going through the roof. So it's not going to burn out in summer. It's going to continue to spread. And like the flu, even in the summertime, and, 10 times worse than the flu in the wintertime. And so there's not enough words to put out there to describe just like how dangerous this virus is and how unprepared people are for this kind of weaponized release. Now, you would imagine that they already have some kind of contingencies cooked up at the Pentagon for this kind of thing. And you can bet that, that is being rolled out right now. Quarantine camps, military police everywhere, checkpoints everywhere, locking everything down. People should fully anticipate that this is where this story is headed and prepare. Because if they lock down and you've got nothing, you're immediately going to their checkpoints, and there's no telling what happens there. They may not like your Trump bumper sticker. They might not like your haircut. And they're like, you got the fever, dude. You look like one of them rednecks. You look like one of them Nazis. You got the fever, dude. And nobody's going to help you because they're going to say you're infected. And we're seeing them liquidate buildings. We're seeing them lock, cities down. This is no joke, and if you could read Chinese, if you could, get the right connections and know what's going on over there, you'd realize how serious the situation is. It's much, much worse than you can imagine. That's how we can report this, is because, we're getting translations. We got the right, people on the ground, and, they're going missing. A lot of these videos, have come with a price, and we're hearing about journalists going missing, but that's just, the tip of the iceberg. We've also got some real disturbing footage of like tons of children being killed by this virus, like body bags of children, 3-4 kids to a bag. That's what we're seeing in the videos. Look, people need to know, right? This is gruesome, But, initially they told you, oh no, it's not, it's just the old people, right? No, this is going to, as soon as this gets into the schools, it's going to kill all the kids. So I don't know if you care about your kids out there, but if you do, you're going to want to start pulling them out of school pretty fucking soon. And it doesn't matter if, people think like, that's a panic or whatever. Look, you need to do what you need to do to survive. Don't think like you just live in this perfect little dream world matrix kind of thing. It's a real world out there. At any moment, a bear can just, jump out of the bushes and bite your ass. You know what I mean? It's still a real world out there. And there's a virus out there that's coming. And it's not just like any kind of virus. This is a weapon of mass destruction. It was released, whether on purpose or by accident, it doesn't matter now. It's coming. The waves are forming, and people need to prepare before it's too late, ladies and gentlemen. And, we can't stress that enough, especially, to our crowd. This is going to nail the cities. This is meant to destroy cities in ways you can't even imagine. And people are just figuring it out. And by the time they do figure it out, it'll be too late for them, So they may have their gas mask when they go outside, but when they come home, they're like, oh, everything's okay. They check the mail, they count their money, they breathe in the sewer gas, they're fucking done. So at least you have an advantage there. And you better start getting plugs for the, for the tub, for the sinks. Leave the windows nice and open as much as you can, air out. Lower your dose as much as possible. And this will begin the crescendo. It won't be overnight that the sewer gas becomes toxic, but it's going to start like it did in China with like 20, 30, 40 cases. And all of a sudden it's like everywhere, everything shuts down. And then it's like, it's the lockdown. You think, you think you're safe. You're not hearing much of anything, but it's coming through the pipes. And, as soon as they can, they're going to be, well, first they're going to come after like the big buildings, high rises. The big cities are going to turn into like, the nightmare you can't even imagine. And we're going to see the same thing that we're seeing in China. Don't think that we're going to see anything different. We're going to see the full lockdown, full quarantines. We're going to see them, basically, forcibly remove people for being suspected. And it's not going to stop there. So people should be aware and prepare for the worst case scenario. I mean, you can't afford to not be prepared for this. And so, if this turns out to be like, only half as bad as that, then fine. But if it turns out to be that and you're not prepared at all, you're going to be in the worst kind of situation. It's like, not having a gun when you need it. And so people should prepare and understand that this system isn't here to protect you. It's here to enslave you. They're here to enslave you, ladies and gentlemen. They're not here to protect you. So don't think that, just because the television right now says that everything's okay, that is the case. They need it to melt down so that they can enact their plans. So in order for things to melt down, they just have to let this virus do its thing, which is what they're doing. So if you can read between the lines and understand, what's going on, then you're gonna have a huge advantage over everybody else. If you really think that the dude that's rolling out the death towers in everybody's neighborhood is here to protect you, you're gonna get what you deserve. And unfortunately, that is the case. So, if they wanted to stop this, they could have done more. And right now, the only thing that they can do is really kind of like sound the alarms and tell people to start social distancing themselves, stop the big rallies and the like, stop the concerts and the public events. If they were serious about stopping this virus, you would know it. You wouldn't be like, well, they're just waiting for something, or, the Chinese say it'll be done by April, so everything's okay. Oh man, they're coming in by the busload still today to these camps, to these hospitals that are just a few blocks away from the crematorium. That's what they're not telling you, and we covered this in previous broadcasts. We're not going to do it again. We certainly appreciate everybody, finding us again, liking the show and the like. Be sure to like and share. Feel free to mirror. Support our broadcast at patreon.com/STF News. Support our research. And you want to know how bad this is? It's like a Fukushima happening in your backyard kind of bad. And they don't tell you until it's like, 2 days later, like Pripyat, That's how bad this is. It's exactly like that. They don't have a choice because, they want you infected. They want to roll out their tyranny. Just wait for it. And then they're going to come on. They're going to be like, oh, we didn't know how bad it was. We had no idea. Well, like every scientist in the country is basically saying, brace yourselves. They're all saying it. Brace yourself. Nobody's like, oh no, this isn't going to happen. They're setting up quarantine camps right now, sheeple, right? You're just like grazing in the pasture waiting for the slaughterhouse. So don't be that sheeple. Wake up out there. Like and share. Feel free to mirror. Support our broadcast. Check out our website, stfnreport.com. And in the comment or in the video description here, we've put in a link to the smoking gun. Read it, man. This is exactly how they got this virus. It's this group. It's this team. It's this funding. Look who's funding this study. It's not just the Chinese. And, this is meant to go worldwide for the New World Order. It's the Georgia Guidestones. And never forget, it's the pages of the Bible playing out before your very eyes. These people on TV, they're part of this Luciferian system. It's like, a demonic they live, and it's going to turn into Soylent Green before you know it. And so you better prepare out there. And if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.